Hello, everybody. My name is TRG. I'm just a guy that plays games while being lame. A random guy. And a game that I played recently was FlyKnight. I did this in preparation for a new update that was coming around of FlyKnight Enhanced Edition. It's going to add a few new things like new enemies, a new game plus mode pretty much. And then they're also doing a vinyl set sale. Now, I personally don't collect vinyl, so that's something that's outside of like my want, but the enhanced edition is something that I would love for a game like this. FlyKnight is definitely replayable, but only to a certain extent, and I think that that's something that would be a great addition. But that's not why I want to make this video. Why I want to make this video is specifically because they say this. On March 19th, they talked about a update that they were doing for that enhanced edition, and specifically they say this one line. They talk about us being hungry for more, and they believe that they only have touched the surface of it. And they want to explore the full length of it, not just through DLCs, but a full-on sequel, which I think is an amazing thing to do. They know that there's a lot of expectations and standards for them because they have made something that was good and simple, and that's what is the appeal of it. It's quite fun, and it's something that I have enjoyed both times that I have played it. And I'm also doing other playthroughs with my friends and still enjoying those. Even though that I know what's to come, everything feels just really good to play. But enough blabbering about FlyKnight. Let's go and talk about why I love FlyKnight, and you should too. So yeah, you're just some random bum knight that has pretty much no renown. You have a few connections to a couple characters since you are Fly, like your master. But pretty much after that, no. And what's better than being a bum knight? Being a bum knight that you can actually customize. And that's the first thing that you can do in this game. It's actually pretty customizable with some wacky customizations that you can do. I chose to be this thing, whatever this is, and then get right into the game. And what do you do being the bumfly that you are? You rob the dead bodies of your brothers that fell in combat because you need it more than them. It's not exactly the most original things because we had that before in other games. Specifically, if you played any Souls game, you will know that that's kind of every character in every Souls games. You're a person that doesn't really have that much renown, but you have a quest and you get stronger and then you can do it. This one's a little bit different because you do have history with other people and they do know you. So that's what makes it a little bit more refreshing than other games because you actually have stuff connected to this world. They treat you as if you were a person, not a person that was just kind of around. And what do I mean as they treat you as a person? I mean that they treat you as a person, including things like wasp racism. Still some wingless filth left. I assumed your kind to be either dead or halfway towards whatever foul hole you came from. Of my time, our agreement is void. The order is no longer of any use to me after this pathetic debacle. Scurry away, find some other place to die. Damn, bro. It's these little things that make the game feel alive, and he's not just some random like NPC. His kind is actually a very formidable force. These are noble samurais, and my god, they do hit like a truck. Mind me. Oh god! He's minding me! He's trying to drop kick me! And it's working! Damn! There's also not just one version of them. There's also a kind of knight version of them that uses a lance. Then he, later on, becomes a different version that uses wakazashis. These all make the enemy variety be the same enemy, but have different variants that make sense not only in the world, but also have it be expansive for those, especially enemies like this that are high priority, have a level of interaction that you're always going to be guessing. So when you hear a wasp, since they do make noise, you don't know whether or not you're going to go fight a samurai, a lance, or you may even fight something new. That's just specifically for the wasp. You have the zombies that have the unarmored and the armored type, which changes only like slightly how you actually fight them and interact with them, but not that much. But when it comes to like the enemy variety in the game, there's still a decent amount. And it's not just enemy variety when it comes to this, it's also enemy placement. They do a very good job at placing enemies where they need to be to put pressure on you. They do this at the beginning of the game, and then you learn slowly what targets to interact with. Just in the beginning of the game, you have a plant that shoots poison clouds at you. This causes an aerial denial effect, and it teaches you you have to go hit those. Generally, those area of denial plants don't interact with anything else. All they are there is to kind of just push you back. So when you're in a group fight, you can get a hit off, run around, maneuver it, get a hit off again, and then you can move freely away from them. Once you get rid of targets like that, whether it be something like this where it's an area of denial or just simply an archer, you then can free up your movement to basically kind of take it a little bit more lax. But this teaches you, hey, certain targets are going to basically do an effect where you might need to actually go focus them before you do anything. It's a simple thing, but a lot of games don't actually teach you through interaction. They teach you through other ways of you failing, or you having to figure out what the enemy does, or you having to figure out these interactions. FlyKnight does have some of that, but it's always in this way of, we show you this first, then you know how to fight it, then we start adding it into other situations and other scenarios. They build upon the difficulty rather than just having it be difficult. You have to figure it out like a Rubik's Cube, and then you kind of bypass it and then it becomes easy. I think it's a lot better when it comes to teaching the player with interactions like this versus having them have a interaction that's already pre-built to be a challenge. When I played this was coming off the real big Souls hype. And even now, we're kind of getting off the Souls hype once again, where a lot of people try to emulate what Souls games do, like Elden Ring, and where you have that kind of, you gotta learn through interactions, but they didn't do it properly because a lot of the times they'll just have it be for literally every enemy in existence, or have it be just extremely bloated, and a lot of the times it just didn't really work. FlyKnight works because it's not trying to challenge you, it's trying to give you fights in where they would challenge you. That may seem very similar, but the core design and your core philosophy and how you make something is going to change how it interacts with the player. Just jumping into my endgame character, I have this weapon that is determined by movement of how I'm going to attack, whether I'm going to attack from the sides, I'm going to attack overhead, or I'm going to do a poke. And if we look at it, it has two different damage types, but obviously you can see that it's only 0.7 in terms of its attack speed. There's other weapons that have a slightly higher attack speed, a lower stamina usage, but you get lower damage with it, so it depends on how you want to go and build. But even those weapons, even though that they have lower damage, those attack speeds and that ability to react make it to where it's still very viable. Well, let's say I don't want that. Let's say I only want slash and I want more consistency. Well, I just use a longsword. It's very similar power, slightly lower attack speed, and more stamina use. Well, what if I need some big kahuna damage? Well, this is where you get your hammers, your maces, your siege hammers. There's another thing called a frog crusher. They do this. Once again, a lot of stamina use, low attack speed, and pretty much only has one direction of attack, and that's just straight down. And as you can see, this big boy takes a while. And these different types do matter. Attacking limbs or plants, slashing is much better than crushing. If something has shields, armor, or you want to hit the head, then something like crushing is going to be much better. This makes a nice rock, paper, scissors type of combat that is really fun to interact with because you're not just using one weapon, and every single weapon does feel fun to use since they do have slightly different movesets, or even if they have pretty much the same movesets, just different speeds like the maces, hammers, and stuff like that. It is fun to have one be like this super weapon or one be a faster version but just less damage. And this also interacts with range combat. Range combat is actually extremely limited, but it's not unfun either. It's a cost reward type of interaction where if you do want to go and hit them, you do have to aim, you do have to account for the arc, you do need to hold it, and you got to make sure that you aren't just overspending and you're hitting what you want to hit. Generally, you want to hit the head with the arrow, no duh, but then when you want to hit something with magic, you probably want to aim for center mass. And what's nice about magic is that it does give you a second option for range, but you could also substitute it for having better close range capabilities. There's one that is my favorite that is basically the plague that if you destroy a part of the body, it multiplies and spreads to not only the victim, but also the other enemies around it. What about the bosses? Well, the bosses aren't exactly too exciting, I will say that. They do teach you specific things. Each boss has a specific thing that they want you to do. The first boss is a plant. This plant teaches you how to control your movement, how to control your stamina usage, and making sure that you aren't just overcommitting, especially when they do increase the difficulty slightly in the later chapters. Obviously, if you build for a very thick build, you don't necessarily need to do that because no matter how much damage you take, you're kind of just getting beat and not really caring. But if you're not doing that and you want to be able to be mobile and you want to just have weapons that are in the middle tier where you have damage but you also aren't using a lot of stamina, then this boss teaches you exactly that. And especially during this time, you're not having like the highest level of armor. You probably still have your first armor there. The second boss is actually a betrayer. He is your master and a dragonfly. He is pretty much the complete opposite of this one, where he controls your movement specifically through a high damaging spell. It makes you master moving around in a controlled space, but also if you are skilled enough, you can master your parry, which stops him from doing these charges or jumps on you and stuns him to where you can get multiple attacks on him. The final boss is a culmination of what you have learned from the bosses, but also what you have learned from just randomly fighting enemies. It's actually a really good boss because it does something very similar to where it creates fountains where you need to watch out, does things to where it shoots from afar, so you have to find a way to control your movement and get over that, generally by jumping, but you also gotta make sure not to use too much stamina, and so on and so forth. I won't spoil it in here. If you want to, you can watch another person's video, but I do want you to go and play it so that you can do it yourself as well. These bosses aren't the most challenging or aren't the most glamorous or aren't the most ooh wow, but it's because it's not that type of game where you have these giant spectacles. If you are unprepared for these fights, you will lose. But if you are prepared for this fight, if you do make sure to bring different types of weapons, if you do learn from these bosses, you start to get in a flow and it becomes easy. And after you defeat the final boss, you meet up with your godfly. They take their wings and they reverse the curse. You have now truly became a FlyKnight. If you made it here to the end, thank you for watching. It does really mean a lot to me. So just for your support, even just for a fraction of your time, because I obviously don't want to waste it. And especially with the world now, people have other things to do. Thank you so much for just giving a view to me. And if you liked it, like it. If you want to see more, subscribe. I do gameplays and stuff like this as well. And it does give me motivation just to do it, because it does tell me, hey, you do want to see more. That's all I had to say. Thank you so much for just being here and watching this. Leave a like, subscribe. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.